Hello, welcome to this week's edition of the Turning Points podcast. Today, we had a very exciting conversation with Rudrani Devi, who is a force to be reckoned with for sure. Very energetic, very exuberant, extremely happy. And man, did she have a lifetime of stories to go through, and I think we only touched on a couple of them.
I mean, this girl is, she is really the epitome of a dynamic goddess. I mean, she really lives life to the fullest and has lived life to the fullest. She's written 4 books. I'll be putting the episode, her links of all the things that she does in the episode notes. She's got a book called Choosing Happiness. Soul Survivor was her first book that was based on her experience of being a part of the Mumbai terrorist attack at the Mumbai Hotel in India. I was there in India when that happened, but I was in the south of India. So she was there and got shot and has and she writes a book on choosing happiness. So so take a listen. She was fun. If you want to gain some energy and excitement about life and to be who you are fully, take a listen.
Yes, enjoy.
Hello, Rudrani.
Howdy from Nashville. How you be?
You're not in Nashville too, are you?
I am in Nashville.
I
knew. Lorianne Jones brought me to your
oh yes,
lay on the floor yoga thing, which was great. And you took a spider outside, and I said something about smacking it. And everybody got really quiet. I'm like, I'm just going to help it get to its next life really quickly. It's probably going to be very grateful to me, but you've already taken care of it in your beautiful way, because that's how you be.
That's so funny. No, I'm the same way whenever I have to kill, because I usually do kill like animals when they are in my house. My deal is if you're outside, you're good. If you're in my house, and then I say, Om Namah Shivaya, go on to a better life. Sounds like you do the same thing.
Oh my gosh, you just brought back a memory, but I don't know if I should go there now or not. We'll just wait till later. Just remind me.
Okay, let's ask the question first. And so that we've established, for some reason, I thought you were somewhere else, but I've always known you lived in Nashville. I've met you in Nashville several times, but for some reason, and I had too many emails today, I thought for some reason I was somewhere else, but you're here. We're all in Nashville. Oh, well, Sean's in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Sean.
Sorry. That's why I have these really thick socks on, because it's still cold up here, even though it's May.
It's cold here too, dude.
It is today.
I know. So weird. Or whether, global warming is not real, people. Anyway, that's a whole nother podcast.
All right. So our question, many seekers can recall that point in time when they started to question their so-called reality or their belief systems. So do you remember when you became a seeker?
Well, okay. So my mother has a very interesting story, because yes, is the quick answer, but she has a very interesting story about when I was, I guess, 3 years oldish, standing up in my crib, because she came to the bedroom or whatever, and it was like in the middle of the night, and I'm standing there going, and I'm pointing. And at the time, there was this thing called Romper Room. It was a way to babysit your kids.
I remember.
And they had the glowworm. Do you remember the glowworm? I'm probably older than you. Yeah, because my next birthday, I'm going to be 58 years old. Anyway.
I turned 58 last week.
Giddy up! I'm just saying, we're rocking it. Just look at us. Okay, so there were these glowworms. And I was like, glow people. And then later, my mother was like, you told me that there were these people in your room. And there were like these. So that's not when I actually knew I was different, but that's when my mother knew I was different. And so she talked to her grandmother, who was a medium that used to do automatic writing for the Pope, these books that are in the Vatican. And she tells her what's going on. And she said, yeah, I knew you were going to have a prophetic child. So just watch her closely and take notes. So it was very interesting, because I can remember I was raised Catholic, Italian. I'm an Italian with an Indian name living in Nashville, of all things. Yes. Andrina Gaetana Fatima Vargona Spina is my name. And Rudrani Devi is a name that was given to me by a spiritual teacher when I did a silent retreat in Monroe, New York. And she was like tapping into her guru, just, "You are Rudrani, Devi." And my whole body just started shaking in recognition. And I was like, "Okay, lady, what are you doing to me?" And so it's very heavy-handed, Rudrani Devi. It means one who takes the pain away from others. And then Devi means God. So what are you supposed to do with that? I'm like, don't know if I want to go there. But I do remember, okay, so Catholic church, yeah. Sitting in church, listening to the priest and all the things. And there was this statue of the Virgin Mary, and she's opens her eyes and starts talking to me in my head. And she says, "None of this is real. It's a creation." And I made the mistake of telling my parents together, and my dad beat the crap out of me.
How old were you?
Very young. I don't even know. I think I might have been in kindergarten. So I was 4 or 5. My mom managed to get me into school sooner because I was born on the deadline date to get into kindergarten. And she already had 4 children and really wanted to get me out of the house. So she's born on the deadline date. Get her in there. So I was like the youngest person in kindergarten. But I do remember somewhere between kindergarten and first grade. So 4, 5, 6, wherever that was. Can't really recall. But it was blasphemy. My father let me know. You can't possibly be talking to the Virgin Mary. And I've got her all over my healing room here. So there's the Black Madonna in that picture over here. And then on my altar, that's the one that my aunt, when we used to do the rosary, and she would animate herself to me. And then I have this one over here. I mean, they're like, I have them all over the place because to me, it's just divine feminine energy. And she showed up for me in many very profound moments of my life. When you asked me, when did I know it was really different? I kind of thought everybody was like me. I can remember, I had a paper route. It got passed down through my family. And there was this one weeping willow tree that I would always stop at because she would talk to me because Mother Earth, oh my goddess, I'm totally her bitch. I love this planet so much. I hate what we're doing to it, but I digress. So I would lay underneath this whipping willow tree, right? And the wind would blow, the tendrils would tickle me, and I would go into this space of talking to the planet. And I kind of thought everybody did that. And it wasn't until college, my first year, I went to school. I graduated a year early and had a scholarship academic. I'm a genius, but trust me, there's nothing you can do with that. That's just a thing. They test you, and then what do you do with it? Whatever. So I made a deal and deliver with my mom because I kept running away from home because of the abuse of my father. And I thought, okay. So I went to school early, and I didn't know that you couldn't mix alcohol because my parents always had wine on the table. Even, as a child, you got a little bit. If you were celebrating something, you got like an inch of red wine, whatever, Italian. And there I was, my night before my classes, my first classes. And this friend of mine said, okay, there's all these fraternity parties. We got to go to them, blah, 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 blah. She's a year older than me. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So we go, and there's PJ Punch at one, and there's like, I don't know, beer at another one. And I'm mixing all this alcohol. And the next day I wake up and literally I got a Post-it note. I wake up. I actually don't know if there's such a thing as Post-it notes, but literally there was this piece of paper stuck to my face, right? And she said, I tried to wake you. I had to get to class. Bye-bye. Whatever. We don't have cell phones. Nobody texts. There's no intranets. All right. I'm like, oh, fuck. I've already missed my first class. And I'm like, I'm a scholarship. What am I going to do? So I rushed, the run of shame through the campus to get back to where I'm staying, because she was in a house, and so I go and I get dressed, and I go to the guidance counselor, whatever it is, the thing you go to when you're like, I'm fucked. And I said, so dude, I totally missed my first class. And I that was one of the classes I had to take for my prerequisites and things for, I was going to be a broadcasting and communications major. So, you know, I'm screwed. I just missed the class. And what happens is you miss the first class, dude. And somebody else is right there to take your spot if you're not there. Who knew? I didn't. So so she said, well, there's none of the classes you have to take, but you can take a couple of other classes, electives, they called them. And she said, you can either take astronomy. I'm like, oh, that's boring. I feel completely different now because, of course, me and the planet. But astronomy, or you could take this religious studies beginner class. And I thought, okay, that'll be easy. I'll just take that one. So she goes, you got to rush, girl, because she didn't sound like that. She's not as cool as I was, or he, actually. She? I don't know. Maybe I have an awareness of something. Anyway, so I rush over there. There's the door. I open it up. I see the teacher and I run up to the desk and I'm like, with my paper, I'm here for this class. And he goes, yeah, that's great. I see one seat up there you can take. And nobody can make this up. It's like, you know, the stadium seating.
Yeah.
200 people, whatever. Left-handed desk that has one leg shorter. And I'm again walking up and people are looking at me and I can so feel their judgments, you know, all the things. And I'm like, so I go up there and I sit at my little desk and this granola guy wearing earth shoes crosses his legs sitting on the middle of the desk with his little round John Denver glasses. I don't know if you guys remember John Denver, but those little round wire rim glasses, and says, okay, so today is really just about you being in the class. We're going to study Zazen and Buddhism first. Here's your assignment on the board. And before we get started, I'm going to lead you into a meditation. And so this jock guy literally is like, he does this, Jesus is my personal Lord and Savior. I'm out of here. And then like 4 or 5 other guys leave with him. And I'm like, wow, that just happened. It's like, here I've interrupted the class. I'm up here in this left-handed desk and I'm hungover. And these guys just, what have I gotten myself into? So he begins this meditation. And it's like one of these things where it's a guided meditation. I've done several of them now because I'm a big fan of all that, y'all. And I went somewhere, you know? I closed my eyes and at first I thought I just fell asleep. And then I could perceive this energy behind me. And I felt these fingers on my shoulders. And I opened my eyes and the room was empty. And he says to me, I knew you were different when you walked in the room. I didn't even know what to do with that. But I knew I was going to take every fucking class this guy taught. I was like, it's happening. It was the same thing with the weeping willow tree. I was like, I was home all of a sudden. I just went, man, all this time, it's not everybody. I'm different. I'm special. I'm magical or whatever. And it sounds like I'm really beefing myself up. But here's the thing about acknowledging who you be. When you're in the space of actually receiving you 100% completely, 100% the greatness that you be. Oh my God, it's the things that you can create and generate. And the universe is like, hey, somebody that'll finally play, I'm going to give her more. Why not? So that was kind of the beginning, and then the channeling and all the other things started happening because of this willingness to be different and to acknowledge it. Make sense? That was a long intro to the answer of your question. So.
Well, that's what I think we're finding that, in a lot of people's stories is this feeling of being different, a sense of being different, maybe not knowing how to articulate it. And it, the story kind of runs the gamut, but that some of those specifics are the same but in your case, you didn't necessarily realize that you were different. You didn't necessarily realize until that point.
Oh my goddess. I thought surely I'm not special. Everybody's got to be like this. And then my father would reprimand me. I couldn't open my mouth. I couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
I remember getting the shit knocked out of me. I mean, he backhanded me in the face at the dinner table because I said that one of my rabbits was pregnant.
Wow.
And then you look at me and talking to the trees, and I'm like, I was that person that was like, why don't we like Black people? What did the Chinese do? What am I supposed to know about this? It didn't make sense to me. How anybody, I didn't even know what a bigot was.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, we're people. We're all children of this universe. And I'm being taught, that the Catholic religion is like the only one, and it's just not resonating. Even the Blessed Mother's telling me, girl, this shit ain't real. I mean, not like that, but I'm putting my spin on it. But it's like, and I trusted that because she came to me in several moments, and even in the moment in India when I thought I was dead. Very interesting.
And sorry, go ahead, Karen.
No, go ahead.
I guess my question is, because this is the first time that I've heard a story where a part of your religious upbringing, the Mother Mary, that spoke to you.
Yes.
So what was that experience of Catholicism doesn't resonate with me, but this element of Catholicism is resonating with me big time?
She said she wasn't a part of it.
Mm.
It was interesting. Her point of view was, I'm going to be whatever is going to create the most. So in this religion, I get to be this, but I'm not buying the story. And I want you to know that you're a seeker and it's not part of your reality either. And I thought it was so cool. I was like, damn, she's talking to me and she's telling me this isn't even real for her.
Heavy, man. Yeah.
And I try to tell this, and my mom she's still every Sunday morning. She watches a mass on her big screen TV in her room because that's what she wanted. She says, my eyes are bad. I need a big TV. So it's in her bedroom. I love her so much. She's my favorite human. And so every Sunday morning, I watch my favorite TV show, which is Sunday Morning on CBS. It's kind of a good news show or whatever. And even that one is getting a little weird because of all the COVID things. If you guys are watching now or in the future, where it's May 10th, 2021. So the stuff is still happening, right? And there she is every Sunday morning watching her mass. And yet that woman is in such allowance of me for being different. It's her family lineage that I have these talents and abilities. And, my siblings, I have 5. They're all like, one of them is Mormon and the other 4 are Catholic. And they're all like, Celeste. Well, they don't call her Celeste. I call her Celeste because she wants everybody to think that we're sisters. But they're like, Mom, why is Andrina not going to church and doing all the things? She goes, she meditates every morning. That's her church. I heard her telling my sister this. I was like, dude, my mom gets me. She's in such allowance. She knows I'm not going to do all the other things. She also knows that every time I'm in a Catholic church, all these dead people talk to me. And it's annoying and distracting. And she told my sister that as well. She's like, she can't hear anything because all these dead people are talking to her because that's what she grew up with her grandmother and great grandmother. So I'm so grateful to have her in my life.
How old is she now?
She would hate for me to tell you this because we're supposed to be sisters, but she'll be 88 May 23rd.
Wow.
She's a gym
awesome.
That's awesome. I love that lady. She's crazy, but I love her.
Okay, so we need like 5 podcasts with you, but I mean, and there's so many questions I want to ask, but next turning point, because I know you had sent me an email today because we were kind of going back and forth about the episode today. And so I did get a little hint. I mean, I do have this personal curiosity about how you found the guru and because that you were with for so long, but is that your next turning point? Is that what you want to share next?
Well, it's very interesting because I didn't expect him in my life. And what happened was it came through a boy. I was dating one boy and his best friend, that boy decided to go back to his wife, which he didn't tell me he was married when we were dating. So I thought I was the worst Catholic ever because, we did all the things. I'm like, oh my God, I just slept with a married man for like 5 months. So anyway, he introduces me to his best friend who breaks up with his girlfriend to get up in me, right? And so whatever. Hello world, this is who I be. 100% of me, the greatness in me, all the time, all the things. So he tells me about this dude, Master Charles Cannon. And I look him up, and he used to be Judy Garland's drummer. So he's an entertainer, an singer. Well, actually, he was gay, so maybe that was just my awareness going to that space. Perhaps bisexual, I don't know. So he tells me all about him, and he wants me to meet him. So he totally, he worked for a record label, and I'm working at the time for a business management CPA firm that works with only really big artists, which is how I got a lot of my clientele. And so we fly out together. We haven't even been together. This is how cool this guy is, So he brings me to meet his guru. And it's Master Charles Cannon that decides that I'm the shit. And you know how that is when somebody points you out and then everybody wants to know you or whatever. And it's like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. But this was the connecting thing. He had this thing with the Blessed Mother, and he was raised Catholic. I'm like, damn, shebang bang. Maybe this guy is for shizzle, He'd been following Paramahasana Muktananda. And so I looked that dude up, and I'm like, oh, wow, that guy's authentic. And he was one of his followers, but one of the 5 top followers. And his teacher told him to bring meditation to the United States. So he developed this alpha technology for brainwaves to lower the brainwave frequencies. And so I started teaching his techniques. And then all of a sudden I'm bringing classes to him. Like it started with 3 or 4 people, and then it's like 30 people. And then it's like, it somehow I had this magnetism for these people to show up for this guy. And it was pretty amazing. And I don't regret any minute of it. And then he had done this, and I'm getting to your answer, I swear.
No, whatever you want to share.
It's just, I'm a storyteller. I've written 3 books and several articles. And for me, I know people can relate if you give them something personal. And I don't have a point of view about my past or any of that stuff. I feel like I'm talking about a Netflix movie. So it's like whatever's going to create and generate the most. So he had taken this trip to India in Mumbai with my friend Alan Shearer, who was like one of my mentors. And at the ashram, he was living there with his wife. He was one of the only monks that got to have a wife because he showed up with her. And
we're talking about which ashram?
Synchronicity Foundation is in Virginia.
Okay.
And we were visiting in India. We were going to do this trip together. So there was 40 of us devotees that were joining him for this meditation retreat. And everything went wrong. My flight got delayed. It was like the whole universe was trying to tell me, girl, stay the fuck home. But me, I tapped into the energy of the Blessed Mother who, I'll tell it this way. What if God and you are having a cup of tea and you're sitting on Pluto and she says to you, your whole life's about to change. And for the better, it's going to change the world. I'm being really dramatic. And you're going to have to go to India and you're going to get shot by terrorists. But your whole life's going to change. It's going to change everybody's lives. And I'm like, yeah, God, that sounds great. What's the second thing on the list? Because I'm not really digging that. So that did not happen, because if it had, I wouldn't have been there. But I believe you choose everything in your world. So I'm going on this trip, and first the flight gets delayed, and then I get to Atlanta, and then I miss the flight that's direct to India. And so then with a friend that I'm doing this with, we decide we're going to go through Pakistan to get to India. We're going to be 2 days late, and our luggage gets lost, and they go through the luggage, and she gets her luggage first, and just about everything in her luggage is like stolen. Mine doesn't show up until like the day before the events, the Mumbai massacre thing, which I'll get to. And so I have my jeans, and in Atlanta we went and I bought like 2 shirts, and there's like the hotel has this laundry service. So I'm sending it out every day. And we go to some store where I buy Indian clothes, the wraps, the whole thing, 2 outfits. So I'm alternating between these 2 outfits and my jeans and t-shirts, and wrapping my head to be respectful because I had hair like down to here, which I'll show you a picture later of my big hair. Because I know you guys want me to share that with everybody. It's crazy. So I don't literally get my luggage until the day before. And then when I open up, my friend goes, "You've been robbed." And I said, "No, actually, I didn't really pack that much because I thought I'd be buying things to bring home for Christmas." Because we're talking about, right before Thanksgiving. And so we're slated to do all this. We got 1 day off. We're going to do all this shopping. So the day off is the day after we went to see all these ashrams, and we went to Paramahasana Muktananda's ashram, and we got to listen to Brahmin priests. Gosh, when I tap into the energy, that's so fucking amazing. Their voices, it's like this deep throat. I can't even do it. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and it still lives inside me. And so we did all the things, and then we got back to the hotel and we were late. And so we walked in, and we were going to go to this Italian restaurant that we've been hearing about outside the hotel. But because we got back so late and the people recognized us from the restaurant that was in the lobby, they were like, "We have your table ready for you if you want to do." So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to change. So I went upstairs and I put on my yoga pants and slippers that I had been wearing. And I didn't have my ID on me because now they all kind of knew me because we were carrying our IDs. I had all that stuff in the safe, fortunately, because the hotel burned and lost everything later. And we go for dinner and we sit down, and we're so high on the Brahmin priests and all the things. And my friend Alan Shearer is there with his daughter, who's like 12, 13 years old, had never been on even a plane. She just got her nose pierced. She was like, "Can I get my nose pierced?" Blah, blah, blah. Cute as a button. In a year, she's going to actually go to a school outside the ashram. That's all she's known for her whole life. And we're all talking, 6 of us. And all of a sudden we hear this. And I was like, "Well, that sounds like firecrackers." And my friend Michael, sitting next to me, he's a famous actor in Canada, he goes, "I think I'm going to go see what that's about." So he leaves. We'd ordered our food, whatever. He comes back and he goes, "Oh, the hotel staff said it's just a bunch of hooligans in the streets, nothing to worry about." Now, India at that time had a no gun law. So police didn't carry guns. They carried these old bobby sticks, whatever those things are. English rule for many years, and they adopted that point of view, I guess. And so he sits down. I could have counted to 20, and all of a sudden, the loudest sound I'd ever heard in my life was this automatic gunfire. And these 2 boys, and I actually didn't see them until I floated out of my body. Anyway, all we heard was automatic gunfire. They were shooting indiscriminately. I said, "Hey, we got to get under the table now." And I realized later, after I'd been interviewed by the FBI, and I'm like all over the place with this story. If you guys are really interested, I have a book called Soul Survivor. Soul, like your soul survivor, that goes into detail about all of it. But I'm just kind of skimming over the bullet points.
Holy shit, I did not see that coming.
I don't know. I gotta laugh about it. It doesn't even feel like me anymore. It's like this Netflix movie. Anyway, so I digress. There's like 40 something people in the restaurant. I say the words, "Let's get under the table now." I had a producer that oh my gosh, Alan Coulter. Okay. I represented him. I used to be a film producer, and I hired him to produce music videos. And he ended up being a part of HBO in the early stages. And he was one of the executive producers for The Sopranos. So there's this episode of The Sopranos. He sends me on VHS. Yeah, I'm really dating myself now. And it's like the first, I don't know, 4 or 6 episodes. I don't remember because I don't even know where it lives anymore. But there was this episode where Tony Soprano, who's like the kingpin of in New York, and he's like, what do you call it? I don't even remember now. What is it when you are the guy that is the kingpin of, I don't even remember.
Godfather?
Yes, thank you. So here he is, the Godfather, all this stuff, and he is in a restaurant eating pasta with his cronies, his peeps, and they know this hit's going down. And so the guy comes in, the waiter's in on it. There's a code word. He says the code word. Tony says, drop, and they all hit the ground. And then the guy gets taken out. They drag him out of the restaurant, out of the room of the restaurant into the kitchen. They roll him up in a carpet and they throw him in the dumpster. And then the guy that's going to like empty the dumpster shows up and blah, blah, blah. And then Tony and his peeps, they like sit back up and finish their pasta. And so when I was being interviewed by the FBI, they said, most people go into fight and flight. What made you tell them to get under the table? Because this is what happens when you bark a command at people and they're in that state of confusion. They're going to do what you tell them. And so I realized, I said, oh, actually, I thought that whoever these guys were disgruntled employees. Seriously. And that's why I told them, because I figured if we got down, we wouldn't get hurt. And he goes, you saved your life, is what he said. I said, yeah, I guess I did. And the thing that I have to acknowledge is I'm a futurist, and I chose this director so that I would know what to do in that moment. And that's another one of those turning points when you realize, oh my goddess, I actually have awareness and I can create my life. And that's when I started questioning my guru. And I was like, what do I know that I have not been acknowledging? And in that moment, he's living off of my energy. I'm actually more powerful than he is. And that's not something that I'm saying to be, oh my gosh, I'm so wonderful. It's when you get to actually acknowledge the miracle that you be and you choose for you, you can create anything. And that was such a huge turning point for me. And that's when it was like, okay, my job is to heal. My ex ended up starting a family with somebody else. So he went bye-bye. I was so grateful for her, and for him starting. Those terrorists did me a favor because I got to be more of me. I got to actually create my life, which I had been doing because I'd been giving it away to everyone else. And that's why I was always coined the happy lady, because I had written the first book and I'm touring with the book. And then I ran the Boston. And right after that, I wrote the second book. I don't know if I can share those or not, but I mean, so
your first book was about the Mumbai shooting?
Yes.
Sole survivor.
And
so was anybody else at your table hurt? You were the only one shot, or?
No, there was only one person that wasn't shot from those of us at the table. There were 6 of us. So Michael, actually, he still has a bullet in his body because it went, oh, this sounds terrible. It went through his anal canal and it's stuck there and they can't remove it because it could create a bunch of problems for him. But that ended his career. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a long time because he was like a voiceover guy also. But 2 of the people that were killed was my friend Alan Shearer, who was shot in the head and his head exploded on me. So when the terrorists saw me, I didn't know this until later. They were standing on my pants leg and I could feel the bullets hitting my back because it's 200 or 300 bullets a minute. I don't remember. They were mowing people down standing. They shot him in the head. There were brains and bone in my head shawl. So when they brought me to the hospital and I had all that blood, they thought that it was mine and it was actually his. And so in a way, I feel like he kind of saved my life right back, other than him. But because that's what I looked like. His daughter began screaming because she was so scared. And that's what made them come back and shoot at us. And they took her out and they took him out. So it's just the four of us that were survived. Out of the four, only one of them didn't take a bullet. The rest of us did. My friend that came with me on the trip, one skidded across her back and put a hole in her butt cheek. And then my friend Michael had several surgeries. He was in India for months. And for me, I was actually in intensive care for about 7 weeks. And then finally I got to fly back. But it was the weirdest thing. They put me in this ambulance where they couldn't even strap me down. So every time the thing would move, I was in so much pain. And when they opened the back, there were these guards with guns, and it would look like a whole military zone. We didn't even know if we were going to get home. And it was so weird boarding the plane. It was the last plane that was allowed to go out of Mumbai. And I remember hearing Bing Crosby singing White Christmas.
Oh, Jesus.
It was so surreal. Couldn't walk. Didn't know if I'd ever walk again. And that's when I knew I was finally going to get home. Life is precious, y'all. And that's why being me is so important. Because why would I want to be here if I wasn't the greatness that I truly be, Because what use is that? It's like, if I'm still here, what am I going to contribute? Use me, universe. Be happy. It drives people crazy. Be who you be with no apology. And those are the classes I teach. It's all about stepping into the truth of who you be. It makes me so happy to facilitate. I mean, everything I watch on TV isn't real anymore. It's like none of this is real, this reality. And so I'm in that space of what can I create and generate that could actually change people's lives?
Yeah. It reminds me of an aha I had when my stepmother passed away. She had a weird thing where she was diagnosed with like chronic fatigue, and she was only like 43 years old, and she was and then she was given prednisone, and she had some kind of reaction that caused a brain aneurysm, so she was gone within 3 months. But she, it was a pretty traumatic 3 months that she went through, my dad went through, and then I was there for a while. And then the actual piece where before she went into a coma, she had some kind of brain aneurysm, started bleeding out of her ear, put her in the hospital, went into a coma, and fortunately she died three days later because
what a blessing.
Yeah, exactly. And I just realized then that it was like, why? That's why I can't watch. It's like, why do we even have these things on TV? Life is dramatic enough. Like life, we have all these things in life, these traumas and dramas and shootings and joys. Like we have all of it. Like this drama we want to see on TV is all in our lives.
You sound like me. It's like, why would I want to watch that? And they did a movie actually about what happened in India. It was what was it called? Oh, did you see it?
I don't think I saw the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure it was called Hotel Mumbai.
It was. And I had so many people reach out to me and said, were you the lady in the kitchen? Oh, obviously not, because she got killed. And they're like, did you see it? I'm like, and why would I choose to watch it? And the thing is, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be accurate.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there is a modality that you can do through an organization I'm involved with, Access Consciousness, which is a movement in 189 countries, but it literally is a process that you can run on yourself while you're watching stuff that would get up in your jam. Like if you're watching a movie that doesn't work for you, then it'll actually clear the points of view you have about the movie, and it frees you. So I don't know. Now that we live in Nashville, Miss Green, I'd be happy to run a bars process on you if you'd like, just to see what that could create in your world.
One of my best friends up in Newfoundland, Anne-Marie, she does the Access Consciousness stuff. So I'm a little familiar. She's never done it on me, but I love experiencing.
That pings for you, though, just let me know, my love, because I love to share. I mean, that's why I'm still here, I guess. I don't know. Just I'm just being in every 10 seconds of my life. Like, what else is possible? What can I create and generate now? How does it get any better than this? All the things, you know? So I don't
Thank
know.
you.
Did I answer your question, by the way?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think Sean, do you have something, guys? I have. Do you have a question?
Well, yeah, I do. Well,
Yeah.
not maybe a question or comment, but you're what you're describing from my point of view in the concept of be who you are. You made a couple statements about, like, you realizing that you're better than the guru, or better, and what it sounds like is you're pointing to you're better than the position of subservience to beliefs, and you had a belief about potential. This is my perspective: is you had a
Oh, I
belief
love
that
it.
guru, you needed somebody else in your life because you weren't powerful enough, and what you're acknowledging is, I'm not going to be subservient to that idea, to that belief. I'm going to connect with the universe and be bigger than even those beliefs are.
I love that you put it that way because it's very interesting. I remember when I decided that, I wrote him a love letter. Thank you so much for everything you've been in my life. And I'm actually going to do what you asked me to do. Because he would do these meditations and he would open his eyes and goes, oh, y'all are still here. And he would say that his biggest wish is that we could actually empower ourselves.
Mm.
So I wrote the love letter like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go there. I am going to trust me now. And several people from the ashram reached out to me and said, you're breaking his heart. And what are you doing? And how can you do this? And I'm like, no, that's what he used to say. Well, no, he said several things later afterwards, and he says you're confused and blah, blah, blah. And I went, oh, that's very interesting that he would say that. And that's when I started asking more questions around it and tapped into the energy of the Blessed Mother and all the things. And I'm not saying don't follow a guru. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't be Catholic or Mormon or any of the things. Hey, the view from the top is the same. So whatever way you've got to get there, you do it. And it worked for me. When I was there and I was in it, it was great. I do remember when I learned that he got leukemia. And this was maybe it was before COVID, maybe a year before. And several people reached out to me and said, do you want to go say goodbye? And I just said, I can do that from here. I don't need to show up. I don't need to show up for them. I can tap into the energy of it. And that's the beauty. It's like I'm looking outside at my tree that's right outside my window. Mother Earth is such a beautiful energy. And she created us, It's like when I go into the energy of that and I go, Mother Earth, what do you require from me? And I contribute because I do this communion with Earth every morning from my hot tub. And what energy, space, consciousness, choice, magic, miracles, and mysteries can me and my body be so that you get to create you the way you want to be? And anything that doesn't allow that, I'm willing to destroy and uncreate it all. And then there's this clearing statement: right, wrong, good, bad, online, pun, puck, shorts, boys, beyonds. And if you guys want to look it up, it's called theclearingstatement.com. You'll get a thing. It's like a very abridged version of this magic wand that undoes all this stuff. And then I immediately feel her reciprocating for me. And so when I discovered how connected I was, not just to the Blessed Mother, whatever we want to call that, divine and feminine, the things, I discovered how much I was connected to Mother Earth. And anytime I tap into that energy, I'm so freaking psychic. It's like, and sometimes that's not comfortable. Sometimes that makes your butt itch. Like, oh my God, this person's lying to me. I know when people are lying to me. And what a gift that I have the awareness that people are willing to lie to me. Do I have a point of view about it? No, it's just an awareness. I don't have to go into judgment of, oh my gosh, this fucker is lying to me. I'm going to be like, whatever. They're willing to lie to me. Maybe they don't even know that I know they're lying to me. What else is possible now? All the things. And that's that space. So when you ask me, going on your own, it's just that I have so much awareness that I finally went, okay, what's going to create more for me? Following my knowing or following someone who tells me that I should be following? Because he would do these conversations with us. And he'd say, you know, this reality tells you that you shouldn't follow a guru, that they don't, you know, you should follow. And I went to the space of, I followed that belief. I never questioned it. But after what happened in India, he asked me to change my story. He wanted me to tell people that Alan had saved the day, my friend, that his head was, you know, and his daughter. He told them that that he had to go identify the bodies and that their arms were stretched out to each other. And I was smack up against Alan. And I knew that wasn't true. And I thought, he's not only wanting me to lie, he's also lying about the positions their bodies were in and telling me to honor them. I had 2 conversations with him. He said, you know, he has a wife, and the things you're saying in these interviews, they're very disrupting for her. And I'm like, but that's what happened. You want me to tell a different story? He goes, well, you know, if you're going to, I don't remember exactly the words, so I'm just going to put it in my words. I would have said, as an honoring to her, tell a different story. And I thought, that's not an honoring to me. Hmm. And how can you tell me to lie? How dare you? I've been following you for years. I almost died because of you, motherfucker. How in the fuck can you tell me to be something I'm not? You know, here's the thing about me. If you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth. If I get that it's not an honoring or a contribution, or it's not going to create more, I just won't talk. But, you know, don't challenge me like that, because I'm willing to be the greatness in me. I don't know if it's going to create and generate for other people. It will for me. And if I got to walk alone, I'm willing to leave everybody behind, including my mom. And she's my favorite human. I'm willing to leave everybody behind to be in the space of being the greatness of me. Because I don't want to be in this world if I'm not willing to be all of me. It just doesn't work.
Do you think that Charles asked you to lie, was that a turning point for you, or was it already happening, or did that seal the deal?
I love that you asked that, because the woman that gave me the name Rudrani Devi, Joan Saval, she was in Hollywood and was going to be this famous actress, and she was supposed to be in a movie with James Dean, and then she met her guru and she left Hollywood to be that. And she was the one that said to me, you are Rudrani Devi. So she's a busy lady. Okay. I don't even know how old she is. Maybe around the same age as my mom. She reached out to me after I was shot, and she said, there's something false about your guru. And I'd never heard that before. But for some reason, because I just had that conversation, I was like, thank you, universe. Thank you, God. Thank you, all the elementals and the quantum entanglements that are trying to get through to me, that, hey, she gets it. You know, he gave you a lot of awarenesses. She's giving you a really big one. And it was light. And I thought, I trust her. Something about that rings true for me. And that's when I wrote the love letter, because I wanted to acknowledge him. I mean, he had been a big part of my life. Definitely a turning moment. And it turned everybody at the ashram upside down, because evidently I was a favorite or something. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to that stuff. It's about, you know, whatever turns me on. It's like, however I'm going to get my happy on or whatever. So, and, you know, it's just a choice. You can choose grumpy. Yeah, you can choose grumpy pants also. You know, if that's what you want to choose, I'm an allowance of it. Whatever works for you. You know, whatever. It's like, okay, all right. So I don't know. I've been so many things, and I've had so many lifetimes in this one. We were talking before this, and I was telling you about how I was a bodybuilder and the hair.
See that picture now that we're talking about it, the hair and the picture of the. How old were you in this magazine?
Yeah. So this is Newsweek magazine, and my mother saves everything. I mean, I had forgotten all about this, but I'm in college. I think I just turned 18, And I was a model for a while, modeling wedding dresses. And two of the guys that I went down the runway with, I'm 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 kind of short. I'm 5'5" and a half. And models are like 5'7" to 5'9" ish and upward. And so I'd wear these big heels. So I couldn't really model like bathing suits or anything. I had to model wedding dresses because you could put stacks underneath them. So I'm doing this runway modeling with these two guys, and they tell me about this gym. And so I start working out there. And then one day I get approached by Newsweek magazine because they want to interview me about women bodybuilders. And this is how my parents found out it was bodybuilding, which they hated because they're like, you're going to look like a man. And blah, 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 blah. So in my mother's things, because she just moved in with me in November, she has this magazine. She has like 8 copies. She goes, do you want one of these before we recycle? I said, I want all 8. So funny.
That's awesome.
This is me at age 18 with the big hair and the purple bathing suit. And I got 2 pictures in this article.
That's the 80s hair, all right. Look at those
Oh my God.
muscles.
I'm just saying. So like the bigger the hair, the closer to God.
That hair looks fake and a lot of hairspray.
Oh, dude, you have no idea. And on my body is actually Vaseline to show off. Yeah. Because it would actually reflect the light. I was taught by the best. Raquel McClish was a bodybuilder then that didn't use steroids. And so she was my inspiration because a lot of the women were just starting to use steroids. So those are real muscles, no joke. And I actually can wear some of the same clothes that I wore at that time.
Nice.
I know. I'm bragging now, and that's okay. You know, all the things.
That's awesome. And so you have a new book out. I want to hear about your new book, or you're writing it, or you finished it, or what? It's your fourth
Actually,
book?
Choosing Happiness.
Okay.
Oh, you want to hear about the 4th book? Okay, because this
Whenever
is the
you
3rd
want.
book.
Okay. That's so pretty. Choosing Happiness.
I know this little happy book. It's yellow. It's like
Oh, I love
it's
it.
a very quick read, you guys, because the first 2 books,
like
the
quick
first one's
reads.
400 pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like a maybe a 90-minute read, but it has very pragmatic tools. Thank you for saying something about the book. It's very happy.
Yeah.
This is Portuguese. This is Spanish. It's being translated into Russians. Who knew the Russians wanted to get happy? I'm very surprised, but it was. No. Okay, so for 10 seconds, tap into the energy of the Russians. Heavy or light?
Very stoic. They're very stoic.
It's a little heavy.
To actually get asked to translate into Russian, I'm doing all the things.
Well, every human being on the planet wants to be happy. I would think most especially the Russians and the Chinese for that matter.
But will they choose it?
Mm.
That's the question.
If they know it's a choice, I think they just have to know it's a choice. And that's why your book is going to do so well.
It's a bestseller in those 3 languages. I'm extremely excited about that. It's
Would you get it to China too?
you know what? I've actually I know, my goddess, the Chinese. I would love that.
So much control.
I know. I just did a Right Voice for You class that was had a lot of Chinese people, and they're like, but we don't have a choice. I'm like, yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
You've just got to choose it. That's the thing that it's so intriguing to me when people really don't know they have a choice. And that's what I'm finding very interesting. They actually don't think they have a choice.
Yeah, for sure. No. My sister had a college student that lived with her. You know, they get these people from the different countries that come and stay to college. I forget what they're called in Canada. Anyway, she was
exchange students, right?
Well, kind of exchange. Yeah. They find a home and they get to stay. And this girl lived with her for 3 years in her basement suite, and she was from Korea. And oh my gosh, she didn't know anything but studying. Like nothing but studying.
Right.
She hadn't lived at homes for like 10 years. She was like, 20, 21, and had always got it. And just, that was the only thing she knew. And the grades and the studying and yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They don't know. And you know that thing in Japan where the men are literally falling over their hearts just stop, and there's no reason why their hearts stop. And they've figured out, there's a movie called Happiness It's a documentary and it's just called Happiness. I think it's on Amazon, or it might be on Netflix now too. It's just called Happiness.
How did I not know about the Happiness movie?
Right. Yeah. It's a documentary, and it talks about this syndrome in Japan, where these men in their 30s, 40s, their hearts just stop and they have no heart problems, but they realize they're just working all the time and they have no happiness in their life, and they just stop. The heart stops.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a creation. Because, okay, this is my interesting point of view. We create our lives, every aspect of it. So were they dying to get out of this reality because it was too hard?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
gosh.
yeah. I
Crazy.
mean, I studied with Deepak for many years, and
Yeah.
he used to say every sickness is homesickness.
Right.
Mm.
I love
Yeah.
the Deepak.
He was my first teacher.
Yeah, I still follow him on all the things, you know, the Dalai Lama, all the peeps.
Yeah,
You know,
great wisdom.
they just tap into what's real and true. And if everybody could trust their knowing and just go to that space, what could that create and generate for them?
And
Yeah.
yet, Rudrani, and yet, it is the Leela. It is the play of consciousness, and we have thousands of years of evolution going on at any given time, and this is what allows it all to play out, is that we are on different awarenesses, different, you know what I'm saying?
True story, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And you know what? I just want to acknowledge what you're doing by having this podcast to
Aw.
bring this awareness to so many people, because a lot of people don't even know they're searching until it pops. And for you to be willing to be that, you know, I have a podcast too, so I totally get it. I got forced into mine. I didn't want to do it at all. And it was literally my very first interview for the Choosing Happiness book. And he came back to me a year later during COVID and he said, I'm doing this podcast thing. You need to do it. You've got to do it. People need to hear your message. And I'm like, dude, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. And then I felt so heavy after I said that. I went, wait a minute, that's a lie.
That's great.
And then I went, okay, yeah, what will it create and generate if I actually choose to do it? And then it was so light. I went, fuck you, dude. Now I have to do this fucking podcast.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of I don't know. I guess this kind of fell on our laps to a certain degree. Corinne is my meditation teacher, yoga teacher, and then I've stayed at Ivy House as I traveled. I'm in music production as well. I'm a recording engineer and I toured with a band.
Hey,
And
When
drummer, amazing drummer.
what? I need a drummer. You know, I have a band. I lost my drummer. Anyway, I'm a funk R&B artist. I don't know if you're interested, but please continue, s'il vous plaît.
Well, and every time I would come into Nashville, every 6 months or so, we would just get into these conversations, and the last one was in, I guess, October, and Corinne was just like, we got to do a podcast. And
we would talk till 3 a.m. anyway about this stuff.
Right.
And it was just, it was kind of one of those things where didn't really have a mission. We didn't really have an intention necessarily or a goal rather. We had an intention, but not necessarily a goal of, well, this is going to accomplish, but it just felt like this is so enriching to our lives. This is such a important thing to question, to go into conversations about things that really are pretty difficult to conceptualize and talk about. And honestly, ever since, it's been one of the best things for me to like kind of what you say is find my own power and discover that within myself. And through having these conversations and hearing people's similarities and the differences and just a different perspective. So yeah, it's a great platform, and thank you for acknowledging that. But it's been very rewarding for us, I think.
Well, I didn't come here to be ordinary. I came here to be extraordinary.
Yeah.
And obviously, because I have really been showboating my entire life with all the things that have happened with it.
Yeah, absolutely. You are. That's who you are. That's who you are. I bet I used to sing in show and tell. I bet you used to do the same thing.
Oh my goddess, girl.
Right?
I can sing hanging upside down by my big toe, drinking a martini on a drop of a hat.
And you have done that, I'm sure.
You can't ask me twice. I'm just what you want? Hey, I got it. It's like once I have the props, I don't know. And even then, I don't even need that. I can use a pencil. I can use anything. But it's
Do
that space of just showing up.
Okay, so has it unfolded for you? So you say you've always been a showboat, but have you
I
like
guess.
come into your, like when you were younger, were you as confident and secure in that as you are? Okay.
No. My father beat the shit out of me. He beat that confidence out of me. I had it at a very early age when the Blessed Mother, animated herself to me. And my great aunt, which I have her statue that we used to do the rosary in front of in my altar back here. Which I don't know if you can see how lovely that altar is.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's Javanese. It's beautiful. I remember when I first got it, I sat in it and meditated for 4 hours before I put anything in there. And it was being sold as a TV console. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a Javanese, altar. I have to have it. And we had to cut the feet off of it to get it into the house because it was so big. So, and then glued them back, of course, all the things. But um I knew it was different, but my father wouldn't allow it. And I know that his mother was very strict and she used to beat her children. He was one of five and one of them got killed by drunk drivers. So then alcohol was a bad thing. And then you only got married to have children. And so when my mother and father got married, oh gosh, if Celeste sees this later, she's going to fucking kill me. But they got married. They didn't have sex on their wedding night. They were virgins. She's 18, he's 35. Everybody thought he was gay or whatever. He was or was going to be a priest because those are the two acceptable things that are going to be for you if you're 35 and not married, if you're Italian. And so it was just this thing where she finally says to him, do you not want to have, I'm going to be Sheldon Cooper for a minute, coitus? You guys ever watch The Big Bang Theory? And love that show. It makes me laugh so hard, even though I've seen every episode like a million times. And he goes, oh, I didn't realize you wanted to have children so quickly. So the way she tells it, they had sex 6 times. I'm one of 6. I walked in on them once, so I know there was at least 7 times. Oh, it was a horror. He comes out later. I'm in the kitchen, like with the door closed, and he's like, forget your troubles. Come on, get happy. He's like so high off of the sex he just got. And I'm like, ah. And then I found like condoms later when I was looking for toothpaste in the house. My mind is digressing. But now I have lost my train of thought. Did you have a question that I was answering?
No, to just the progression of you fully being yourself. So you felt like it got squashed a little bit from your father.
A little bit? I'm going to tell you a little story. If we have time, I will go into it. We have time?
Absolutely.
All right. So I remember, was I in Nashville yet? Yes. So I was living in Nashville in the house before I did all the redos. And I'm home, and my sister from Canada, the Mormon, is visiting with her youngest child, who is now 22. And we're watching TV in the TV room, all of us, for, I think it's Thanksgiving. So there we are. And she is getting ready to fix a shirt or something. So she has got a needle and thread from my mom's little needle and thread thing, caddy. And she's sewing it up, and her baby is crawling towards that. And I see this spool of thread with a needle sticking out of it. And his hand is going there, and I grab it. I'm like, Gloria, you need to pay attention. Your child is about to, grab a needle, whatever. And my father saw it and misidentified it as something where I was telling her how to raise her child. So he has something to say to me about, you've never had children, the things, and I'm not married yet. And he has told me, I think I was like 20 when he said to me, you're good looking, but those looks are going to fade. So you better marry a man early and, a rich one. So that's what he implanted me with. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do all those things. So anyway, that happened. But we're also watching TV. And on TV, there's this implied sexual scene, which my father can't have in his world. So he walks out of the room. And I'm pissed at him for what he said. So I've walked out of the room as well. And there we are both in the kitchen. And he confronts me and he basically says, you know, you're not a parent. Why are you trying to parent your sister? And I said, well, you didn't hear what I said to her. He goes, oh, I heard what you said to her. And you've always been this way. And he starts laying into me. And I watch him, and this is what's happening. He's creating a fist. And I recognize that fist. And I said, you know what? If you want to hit me, free reign. But if you hit me, I am going to hit you for every time you have ever hit me. And I'm not going to stop until I'm done. And that's going to be a lot. And he says to me, I didn't raise my child to talk back to me like that. I didn't raise my child to be that way. And I said, au contraire, Dad. I actually said, au contraire. I did. You totally raised me that way. That's why I left home early. That's why I ran away from home so many times. You have created this monster. Hit me. I dare you. Fucking hit me, because I am going to annihilate you. And so he's like, not doing it. My two brothers walked in at the end of the conversation, and my one brother, who's very charismatic Catholic, who speaks in tongues. And by the way, I actually adore him because he takes care of my mom. We just have different points of view. He says, you know, this is tough love. And I said, fuck you, man. Tough love? This guy has hurt my kidneys. He clocked me so hard that my tooth broke through the skin of my face. I had to lie to teachers. What the fuck are you talking about? And I ran outside and I lit a cigarette, because I used to smoke like 1 or 2 cigarettes a day. I was such a rebel. I put them in a Ziploc. I was such a bad girl. And so I'm doing it in front of my mom, you know, I'm smoking this cigarette, and I'm like, fuck all of you, leave me alone, blah, 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 blah. And I go for a walk, and my mom's like, she's crying, you have no idea what it's like. I said, yeah, I do. You've chosen this. Whatever. I don't get it. Why would you choose this? You have no idea. My brother running after me, and I'm like, fuck all of you. Fuck, 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 fuck. Like, how many times can I say fuck in this call? So
Plenty.
And so plenty of times. I just kind of love the word fuck. Anyway, that was another turning point, because my father didn't hit me. That was the first time he didn't hit me, and he never hit me again after that, because I actually stood up for me. That was definitely a turning point, because I stood up for me. I honored myself. I had my back. I had my own back. And I'm smiling so hard, because how many of us judge ourselves and we don't have our backs? Oh, my thighs and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh my goddess. None of that is real. Judgments aren't real. Points of view aren't real. They are impaled upon us. We've been programmed to believe that those things are real and true, and they're really not. So for me to actually get that, then thanks, Dad. What a gift you were right then in those 10 seconds for me to step up for me. I'm just getting that awareness now. Bam, bam, bam.
Oh, that's beautiful, because I was actually going to ask that. Sean, what were you going to say?
No, you bring up an interesting point through that story. It's part of that, this process is discovering awareness, and then discovering the power of that awareness, kind of in the face of the variety of repression, programming, in a world and in a culture, society, an age where
right.
Life in a lot of ways is perpetuated, not necessarily by design, to not recognize that awareness is that power, to
Right.
recognize that we are not amazing, that we're not magnificent. Like that is, and I say it's not by design because it's a false truth that was created a long time ago, and it's perpetuated in a lot of different avenues. And the worst carriers of that are ourselves in a lot of ways, where we maintain our own level of significance in our beliefs that we have in ourselves. And that's why I think those moments that you described are so powerful is because you chose from a space of awareness, maybe not the grandiest, Jesus, the grand,
Most grand.
Make up a new word. I don't care. Let's the grandiest.
maybe
Let's do it.
the grandest, awareness, but a level of awareness of like, you know what? If you're going to hit me anyways, why don't I call you out for it and let you know the consequence of what your actions are going to be? Because that's been the consequence I've had to deal with for this long. That there's a lot of power in that, but that's got to be a confusing thing to deal with. And I'm sure a lot of people struggle with traumas just like that, where what do you do with that afterwards?
It's interesting. It's like, can you be an allowance of who you be?
Yeah.
Can you be in gratitude of who you be?
Yeah.
Can you be an honoring of who you be? Because if you're going to be that for the rest of the world, you've got to have it with yourself first.
Yeah.
And you can't apologize for saying, I'm willing to be the greatness that I be. Because a lot of people look at that, because this reality tells us, oh yeah, right. The greatness. I mean, you being you is a gift to the world, right? Whatever. I mean, you're the gift. And that's what we're taught. So it diminishes us.
Yeah. But it's really empowered surrender. It's because when you say things like be the magnificent, it feels, I think, to people like you're saying, oh, I'm going to be great. I'm going to be greater than everybody. It's like, but you find that through the surrendering to the awareness, through you've talked about Mother Nature, to the Divine Mother. You're actually surrendering to the awareness as it emanates from you. You're asking Spirit to move you, to move through you, to be that which is in connectivity with that divine.
Every morning I ask the universe to show me the greatness in me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm going to be here, I want to be part of the solution, whatever that means. And I mean, it's funny because I've done so many interviews, and I remember this one guy saying to me, what do you mean you being you is the gift to the world? Because if I were to say that, women would be like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, dude, so let me explain it to you another way. Would you rather somebody be with you the way they think they're supposed to be with you, or actually be vulnerable and raw and actually be who they be with you? And what if that was the gift because they're actually showing up the way they be? And he was like, oh, that's actually a very different way of looking at that. I said, yeah, we have this point of view because of this reality. And when we say, oh, we're the gift to the world, they were like, hey, I'm the gift to women, I'm the gift to men, I'm the gift, whatever. The gift is you allowing you to be available, however that shows up, without apology, walls and barriers down. And what could that contribute to the planet? And so I'm in that space of, people are like, you say things that would totally embarrass me. Why do you say? I was like, because I don't have a point of view anymore. I really don't. That's why choosing happiness, I thought it was going to piss a lot of people off. And granted, it has pissed some people off. I mean, I have a story about that. Do you want to hear the story? I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Absolutely. We have to hear it now.
Before COVID and all the things, I was on dating sites, and there was this guy that had never popped, because you see the same people. And I haven't been on dating sites for quite a while now, but so this is like for at least 2.5 years. So he pops, and I'm looking at him and going, I remember him being in my feed before. He never popped before, meaning it wasn't light for me to go there. But my mentor, Gary Douglas, who's the founder of Access Consciousness, if you guys want to look him up, he said, you got to ask these questions. Will this be easy? Will it be fun? Will I learn something? Will I be happier afterwards? And will it contribute to me? So I got all yeses. And I thought, that's weird. I've been seeing this guy, and he's like, I don't know, 15 years younger than me, but I don't have a point of view about age either. So I respond, and I want to meet him for coffee, but he lives in Murfreesboro. So he can't meet me for coffee. He's going to meet me for later. And I said, okay, what do you have in mind? Drinks. Oh, geez, I don't like doing that, but okay. So I pot and pock myself that clearing statement I said earlier, everything that doesn't allow me to be an allowance of that. And we meet at a bar, and I get there before he does. I'm sitting at the bar. He comes in, I recognize him. Look, he's kind of cute, but my awareness is already telling me not for you. So I'm going, okay, I got to trust my knowing. I got yes for, will this be fun? Will it be, all the things. So he sits down and he starts telling me about how he gets government money because of all these aches and pains in his body. But he's this mountain climber and he shows me pictures and stuff and whatever. And so now he's getting a little creepy. He's getting a little touchy feely. And I'm going, oh, why in the world did this actually test for me? Why did I get all the yeses? And I'm asking my body, should I go now? No, don't go yet. So I'm going, okay. So I'm having a martini, which is my thing. I like to have a gin martini. I'm, the meditating person that likes martinis. And he's drinking his birras and he hasn't eaten all day. So he orders and I order, the chicken wing appetizer. And all of a sudden on my feet, we're like showing pictures of our Facebook stuff on our phone. And all of a sudden in the feed, it says your book, Choosing Happiness, is now available in Portuguese. So I'm not joking. I went like that exact sound. And he goes, what just happened? I'm like, my book is available in Portuguese. What book? So I tell him the story about this book, Choosing Happiness. He goes, what do you mean people can choose happiness? They can't choose happiness. He was really pissed off about it. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of known as a happy lady. I guess I could be, there could be worse names. And so finally I thought, okay, I'm going to pull the Mumbai card. I know that's very heavy handed, but I'm going to just tell him the story. Why not? So I tell him the story. All of a sudden he softens. He wants to hug me. He's getting creepier. I'm like, what the fuck with this guy? And then I love it. Sean's like smiling. He goes, I know the guy you're talking about.
Not me.
Not you, but you totally recognize that energy, right?
100%, yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to connect with her on this level, blah, blah, blah. And I'm getting, should I leave now? No, don't leave yet. It's not time because I'm trusting my knowing. And so he starts asking me about the book again, because, I'm like, if anybody shouldn't be happy, it should probably be me. In this reality, everyone says shot by terrorists. Maybe you should be unhappy. Your husband starts a family with somebody else. You shouldn't be happy, blah, 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 blah. The question I always got was, why are you so happy? Which made me write this book. And then the Get a Happy podcast. So he starts defending his position again, which is fine. Interesting point of view. He has the point of view he has, but he totally could not receive my point of view. I'm like, okay, you know what? That's cool. I don't have a point of view. If that's what you believe is, you do have a point of view. What about people that are born in India or in China that they can't choose happiness because of the things we've already talked about, right? And I'm like, yes, I am kind of a subscriber of you chose that life. What do you mean you chose? So he's getting louder and louder. And he goes, you're so full of shit. And then you could have heard a pin drop. And so I stood up, put on my leather jacket, and I said, I can appreciate this vivacious conversation we're having, but I can see that it's totally getting your panties in a wad. So I'm going to leave now. Thank you for the martini and for the wings. Ciao, ciao for now. And I go to walk out, and everybody in the restaurant bar is now applauding. And I get to my car, and I get inside my car. I'm like, Bianchini, that's the name of my car. Bianchini, you're not going to believe this. It never shows up the way you think it's going to. It was easy. It was fun. I learned something. I'm happier afterwards. I don't know about him. But it was a contribution. And now I have another story to tell in my classes. And I am so grateful this crazy guy that, was like 15, 16 years younger than me that totally couldn't buy the story of choosing happiness. I mean, look at Oprah, for Pete's sakes. She came from poverty, man. And she chose differently. You can do it, people. Hey, all y'all listening now or in the future, you can do this thing. Just be willing to choose it. Be willing to trust your knowing. Oh my goddess. That was one of the best, points when you're asking about those reference points or whatever, when you knew. That showed me how much I was willing to show up for me, how much I could honor me, be an allowance to me, be in gratitude for me, to trust me. And I was like, yeah, if I can be that for me, I can be that for the world. And whether people show up or not, it doesn't even matter.
And that's the truth right there. It doesn't matter. You show up for you. You show up who you are, and if one person shows up, great. If a thousand shows up, great. If it's nobody shows up, that you just keep doing you. That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ah, this has been an amazing conversation.
It was a fun conversation.
You got a lot of energy, and it's really fun to hear. And I can only imagine how many more stories you have and how many more lifetimes you've.
Sorry. I'm not sorry.
No, not at all. It's, you know, we have access to very rich perspectives if we allow ourselves to have presence while we're going through these experiences. And I think that points to what your book is about. Is yes, all these things are traumatic and they're very difficult things, but that doesn't mean they have to create an identity for me, and that doesn't mean that it curates who I am as a person. I can choose who I am and how I be through whatever circumstances come about. So no, excellent, very excellent perspective, and I love your perspective on, you know, these experiences you've had.
Oh my God, Sean. So here's the thing. We can create ourselves anew in every 10 seconds. You know, from day to day, year to year, life to life. I mean, all the things that I thought were real and true for me way back when, even with the guru, which I also appreciate in my life.
Yeah.
I realized that wasn't really true for me, but I was searching. And so every step I took created where I be today. So I have no regrets. Even with the terrorists, I'm like, oh my goddess, they gave up their lives and look what it created for me. I'm so grateful to all 10 of those terrorists that thought they were going to get their 20 virgin wives on the other side. I mean, they're getting programmed too. And this whole life has been a program. And so when you're willing to actually step into who you be, regardless of what this reality tells you you should be, it creates so much. And that's the invitation I want to be. So thank you for this conversation. You guys are amazing. And thank you for letting me talk so much. I mean, I talk a lot. I know. I do talk a lot.
Either you're going to talk a lot or I'm going to talk a lot. So it's better.
Oh, shut up. I did all the talking.
Trust me.
Well, Sean can talk.
Yeah, trust me.
I win. No, I win. In this one, I win.
Yes, you won. You won this podcast. The next
This
one,
round.
I'll talk.
This round, Rudrani.
Yes,
round,
next time
Sean.
I'll be interviewing you guys, and then we'll get to your.
I got a lot of shit. I got a lot of shit to talk about. That's not true. So, well, thank you.
For you both, by the way.
Thank you for joining us, and thanks for coming on and sharing your perspective and stories. And we'll have to do this again sometime. So
I would love it anytime. I'm there. I am Rue ready. Just want you to know.
You are Rue ready.
I feel Rue ready now too. So.
Me too. We've been Rudified.
Rudified. Oh my goddess, Corinne, can I please use that Rudified?
Oh dear.
I feel like I've been Rudified.
I just have a quick question. Are you still teaching yoga right now, or is it still
not in my studio? In Zoom, I am. Yeah.
Oh my goddess. When will you be doing it live? Because I totally want to.
I'm thinking in the fall. In the fall. Maybe October is kind of my feeling. Maybe not September, just because I'm going to be doing a little bit of traveling. But I'm thinking maybe October we'll have people inside. We might do some music stuff outside. Just to kind of warm up everybody coming in. And but I've actually been enjoying, like I said, I've been enjoying the monkhood and enjoying, luckily my students are still doing yoga online with me on Zoom. And, I've learned a whole new set of skills teaching yoga, especially the awareness yoga on Zoom. It's like
the muscle you don't even know you have.
Right. I mean, I just close my eyes and I am in each room with the students. I can adjust their bodies, no matter if they're in Newfoundland or California or wherever. I can tune in right where they're at. My language has changed slightly because it has to be a little bit different on Zoom. So it's been, I've definitely learned some new skills.
Well, maybe I need to check that out. I don't know. Is Lorianne Jones doing
She hasn't been. She did like maybe one in the beginning. Some people are really
They're
they
tactile. They want
yeah,
to.
they just don't want to do the Zoom thing with yoga, and I totally get that. But my students that have stuck to it, and they're getting a lot out of it. It's been amazing, and I certainly have gotten a lot out of it. So,
You're an amazing lady, so I can't imagine that it wouldn't be a total gift. So
thank you. Right back at you,
you're
girl.
welcome.
Thank you. Mwah. Next time. Until next time.
Yes. So I guess ciao ciao for now, right?
Ciao, ciao for now.
All right. Woo! That was a snowball, energetic conversation that kept on rolling into crazier situations that she has overcome by pure choice, it seems. I mean, her mantra is be who you be, choose happiness, and don't let anything in life dictate who you are as a person. And she's very genuine in that mantra. She lives it for sure. You can tell.
She lives it. I mean, imagine her workshops are just dynamic and fun. I mean, I kept thinking, because she said before we got on the call, she said she liked Marianne Williamson. And she reminded me a little bit of Marianne Williamson, the way she talked, like she could be a preacher.
Yeah.
That's that she has that flow, that consciousness flow of excitement and just love and exuberance, and and she seemed just as excited for us than she was about her stuff going on. And it was it was really fun.
Absolutely, man. And I, there was a lot of synchronicities, I think, with the Kathy Peak interview where, take somebody who has had very obvious family traumas, very open about, a lot of the abuse, whether, verbally or physically, and then, a real life terrorist attack and being shot and not knowing what, if you're going to be able to walk. I mean, you take the whole of just those two traumas in a life, and it sounds like she's had even more. And what you get out of that is a person who is not interested in identifying as a victim, who isn't interested in letting those circumstances dictate who they are as a person, but then also having a passion for being an energy or a magnet that draws that out of people as well. She talks very deeply, intimately, and passionately about what can I contribute to this life? How do I show up as me fully and contribute to allowing other people to realize they have that choice as well? And that is some pretty powerful shit coming out of situations like that.
Yeah, I mean, I even know people. Tony Robbins talked about this. So I studied the Tony Robbins coaching program, and part of the program, a big part of the program when you're learning to do life coaching, with Tony, is watching. Like, they've been recording all of his seminars for 35 years, and so he was recording his seminars when 9/11 happened. He was in Hawaii with 5,000 people.
Wow.
100 of which, more than that, couple hundred of which were from New York City, couple hundred others that knew personally people that were in the building or in New York. And so the morning of 9/11, they had to decide, were they going to go on with the seminar? Nobody could fly home.
Right.
And so they decided halfway through the day that he said, okay, we're going to actually, this is why we do the work.
Yes.
And I'm just getting chill bumps because one of my favorite coaching videos to share with people. So he brings people up on stage and he does real life processing with them. And so there was one of the processes where he brings up people, and I think this is day 2, but there's people he brings up on day 1 when it first happens. And he brings up like 5 people, and they all have 5 different emotions, really strong emotions and reactions to what has happened in New York. None of them know anybody in New York or in the building, but they all have 5 really strong reactions. And he goes through and he shows the pattern that each one of these people, it's a pattern of these emotions that they act in every situation. They are that. They go through these emotions. Like there's a martyr, the person that's the martyr. There's the person that's the savior that wants to go and help, and there's the different people that have these roles. And so it was really, we are affected. Some of us are more affected by situations like that than others. And that's actually what I've been writing about in my book, is the fact that I, like Rudrani, have moved through things in my life that were challenging and difficult and could be called traumas. Not to say that they weren't painful at the time, but I moved through them and I let them go and I was able to move on. And I think that's what I see, what's what I admire, and what you're saying about her is she doesn't identify with the story. She's moved on. She chooses happiness. She uses it. She doesn't let it use her. Because I still know people that when they talk about 9/11, they get teary.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it is a certain, like she said, happiness is a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, and to the degree where she had that date with the guy who he was asking her about her book. He was inquiring about her perspective and her story, and she gave him his perspective, or her perspective, and his reaction to that was from a space of such disbelief that it is a choice. And I think maybe a tragedy of here and now, and this is yes, part of the reality, but I think a tragedy is people really don't know or understand there is a choice. There is a choice of what you choose to spend your time giving to your attention to. And I'm not downplaying, but all she's doing is choosing to spend her time putting her attention on happiness, growth, empowerment. And I say I'm not downplaying this because that is the hardest thing in my world that I've experienced, is maintaining that choice perpetually and choosing awareness, choosing happiness, whatever word, whatever concept you want to put in that place. It is a very difficult thing to do. And that might be why people don't believe it. And that's maybe why it seems impossible. And I think that's why stories like these are even more powerful than they seem. We like the hero stories. We like that she survived, and that I like that she survived too. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing. That's great. But the even more heroic aspect to this is that she's grown from this experience and used it as a mechanism to show people that they can also grow from it. Survival is the first part of that hero. The second is maintaining that hero relationship with the story and not letting the story dictate, a depressive. And again, as we're talking about this, I want to make sure it's not a slam. It's not putting people down. If a situation like that does create a experience where you're not happy, that's okay. That's okay that you wouldn't be happy after a trauma like that. But I think there are tools and there are teachers and there are ways we can process that in a more healthy, happy way where we understand we have a choice out of that, programmed trauma.
Right. And that's a great point that you made. I mean, even she talked about, it was after we hung up that she talked about that she didn't write the book for at least a year after, because she was still in a wheelchair. And she was saying Simon and Schuster wanted the book within a year of the incident happening, and she wasn't ready to write it yet. She was still in the middle of her story.
Right.
And so she went through her process, her healing, which that's, I think, one of the reasons why she's able to now share it and be grateful for it, because she did go through the process of healing emotionally, physically through it.
Yes.
I think, yeah, but she didn't identify with it, which is what happens to people when they get stuck in the healing. Then they become the victim rather than gratitude, right? They stay the
Yeah.
victim rather than being grateful. She's like grateful for the experience. And a
Yeah.
lot of people would have a hard time wrapping their head around that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I tell my coaching clients all the time. I'm like, the greatest challenge in your life is your greatest teacher.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean?
Well, it's because it's one of the more counterintuitive things for a human being to encounter is, like, as she kind of put it, is being thankful for the terrorists that, and as she said, they gave their life for me to have this experience, this understanding. Yes, people died. Yes, that is terrible and it's tragic, but we've talked to a lot of people who have a background in Christianity and people that are on a spiritual path. Many of them come from Christianity and are still affiliated with that. And it's funny because Christ used those same tools. He forgave even the people that were putting him through that crucifixion experience. It was not, there was not hatred, there was not animosity, there was not bitterness, there was not resentment for the people that were even putting him through that. So I think it's interesting because one of the most popular spiritual faiths that people are a part of, that's a core fundamental aspect of Christianity, is forgive even when it's not easy, even when it's not, doesn't feel like the right thing to do. I mean, the statement forgive them for they know not what they do. I mean, that is basically what we're talking about here is
Yep.
when you know not what you do, that's, I think, speaking of awareness. You're not acting out of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can recognize when somebody is participating in and out of awareness, I don't know that it makes it easier. It feels easier because once you have understood and explored your own programming, your own experiences of trauma, of belief systems that are not actually serving you, and you start seeing that in other people, there's an immense amount of compassion because you know what it's felt like to go through that experience. And I believe that's what she's experiencing here, is that I could choose to be bitter, and I have every right to say, fuck you guys, you shot at me, you killed people I knew in front of me, I hate you, you're going to burn in hell, whatever. Or I don't think they were acting out of awareness. They were not enlightened, experiencing human beings. And for that, I forgive them. I'm going to turn this into a grateful situation and look at it as a grace to undo programming within me. That's complicated stuff, but it is very powerful. And there are a lot of tools for that, even in Christianity, in the core tenets of it. So, it's there. It's available. So thank you for getting us ready and getting us Rudified in your experience. And, look to her books, look to her joyful, wicked, awesome self, and see what you can find. There's wisdom there.
And make sure you subscribe or make a comment. We love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
See you next time.
Good night.